Hello everyone. So now let us start the new chapter, that is chemical coordination and integration. We have studied nervous system, neural system and coordination, and in that we have studied the nervous system is the one of the most important part of regulating the body. Okay, along with the nervous system there is one more system which deals with regulating the different parts and different functions of our body, okay, by some chemicals. It does not contain any particular type of cells like the nerves, right, but it will be containing the glands and some chemicals which are released from it, and these chemicals and these glands which will be regulating the different functions of body is called as endocrinology. Okay, so we can say study of endocrine glands and their hormone is called as endocrinology. Okay, so let us see the how these chemicals which are secreted from some particular type of cells which are called as glands will be carrying out the different type of regulation of different activity of a body. Okay, so and they are how they are helpful in different functions like the growth, like the digestion, like the producing the gametes, like sexual characters and different activities and the function which are carried out by the human body will be directly or indirectly controlled by the chemicals, and these chemicals are called as hormones, and these hormones which are secreted from the particular cells are called as glands. Okay, so the study of these endocrine glands and these hormones are called as endocrinology. So we'll be discussing about this chemical coordination and the integration. Okay, so let us start. Endocrine, what does it mean? Endocrine is the word which is basically obtained from the Greek word, okay, that's endon means within, and crine siren, particularly siren means to set apart. So it is the endocrine is a gland or it's a type of cell or tissue which is basically chemicals secreting these chemicals from inside. Okay, it's secreting the chemicals from inside in such a way that it will be releasing the secretion directly into the blood. It will be releasing its secretion directly into the blood. Okay, so we'll see what is it's basically endocrine. So this study of this chemical coordination and integration, or we can study of these endocrine glands and their hormones are called as is called as endocrinology. We'll study that. Okay, so it was a Thomas Edison who is called as the father of endocrinology. So Thomas Edison is called as the father of endocrinology, and he was the first person who basically uh, carried out a vast study on this particular subject. And these glands are also called as ductless glands. Why? Because these glands will be we have already seen these glands in the digestive tracts and all that, right? So how do they differ from these glands? Okay, so the glands are of different types. We have already seen endocrine, exocrine. Particularly the exocrine glands are those glands which secretes the secretion through a duct, through a tubular structure. Okay, so exocrine glands are those glands which secretes the secretion, which releases out the secretion into the blood through a structure, through a tubular structure, which is called as exocrine gland. While the endocrine glands does not have any type of tubular structure, or they do not contain any type of duct, or we can say they will pour their they will pour the secretion directly into the blood. They will pour the secretion directly into the blood, and hence they are called as ductless glands. So endocrine glands, the foremost characteristic of these endocrine glands are this: they are ductless in nature. It means they will not be having any type of tubular structure, or they will be secreting the secretion directly into the blood without any tube. Okay, that's why they are called as ductless glands. Okay, now okay, so these endocrine glands are called as ductless glands. Okay, now these glands, the hormone term was given by Starling. The Starling was the first person who gave this term hormone. Okay, the Starling was the first person who gave this term hormone. Okay, and hormone, the word hormone suggests it is to excite, okay, to induce something. Okay, now secretin was the first hormone discovered. The first hormone which was discovered was the secretin, that is secretin. Okay, but you have to keep in mind the first discovered hormone was secretin, but the one which was isolated for the first time was the insulin. Okay, so the hormone which was discovered for the first time was the secretin. Okay, but the one which was isolated for the first time was the insulin. There is a difference between both. Okay, so the secreted hormone, the first discovered hormone was secretin, but the one which is isolated first of all from the organism is called as is the insulin. Okay, now the hormone is the one of the most important substance which is responsible for homeostasis. The hormones are the one of the most important substances which are responsible for maintaining the homeostasis. Now, what does the homeostasis mean? Homeostasis means is a condition which is found in the body which is uniform in nature. So it's uniform condition found in the body. So we can see in the body the number of RBC will be always maintained constant. Okay, the temperature of the body will be remaining constant, that is 37 degrees Celsius. The number of WBC cells would be remaining constant. Okay, the pH of the blood will be remaining constant. The different solid concentration will be remaining constant. Okay, so this condition within the body is constant, is kept constant. Okay, and this process of keeping it constant, maintaining it constant, is called as homeostasis. Process of a phenomena by which the body is keeping all its condition constant is called as homeostasis. Okay, and the hormones play a very important role in keeping this homeostasis, in maintaining this homeostasis. Okay, that's important. The hormones are how we can classify, how we can basically describe these hormones. So hormones can be simply described as the non-nutrient chemicals which act as intercellular messengers and produced in very trace amount. So how we can describe it? It can be described as a non-nutrient, and it will not be providing energy. It will not be providing energy particularly to the cell. Okay, so they are not digested as well. But they are not basically are taken up by the cell, and they will be not digested over there. Okay, so they are non-nutrient chemicals which act as a intercellular messenger. So these are chemical messengers. We can say the hormones are chemical messenger which are secreted in very small amount. You can write it down. Hormones are chemical messengers which are secreted into blood directly. Secreted into blood directly in very small amount. So hormones are chemical messengers secreted into the blood directly in very small amount. Okay, and it will be acting on the target organ. It will be acting on the target organ. Okay, so the hormones are non-nutrient substance which are basically act as intercellular messages and are produced in very trace amount and which will be acting on the target organ. Okay, now the endocrine glands and the hormones producing tissues in the different parts of body constitute endocrine system. So what is endocrine system? The hormones and the different glands which produces these hormones is called as endocrine system. Now the neural system and the endocrine system jointly coordinate and regulate the physiological function in the body. So it's not only the neural system which will be responsible for regulation of all the body systems, but along with this neural system, there's more system which is associated with it is called as endocrine system. And they both will be coordinating with each other and hence regulating the physiological function in the body. Okay, so let us see the different glands and the position in the body. Different glands. So it will be starting with the pineal gland. Pineal gland is present in the center of the brain. Then even the hypothalamus is present in the brain part. Okay, we had already seen in the nerve system as a part of the diencephalon, right? And the pituitary gland is also a part of brain as well. So these are the main three glands: pineal gland, hypothalamus, and pituitary gland. These are the ones which are found in the brain. Next is the thyroid gland and the parathyroid gland. These are the ones which are found in this. These are found in the throat region. We can say this thyroid is just found above the larynx, on the larynx you can say, and parathyroid are found just lateral side of this thyroid. Okay, in this larynx, near to the larynx. Okay, thymus is found in between two lungs. Thymus is a gland which will be found in between these lungs, in between these two lungs, and the pancreas is present at the abdominal cavity, just below the duodenum, okay, or we can say just below the stomach and lateral to duodenum. Adrenal glands are the pair of glands present on the apical part of the kidney. They are the pair of glands present at the apical part of the kidney. And the case of males, the testes are basically present as a part of sex organs as well, and also as an endocrine gland. Okay, and in the case of females, it will be the ovary which will be functioning as a what you can say endocrine glands for producing different type of hormones. Okay, so these are different glands which are mainly found in the human beings, and we will be discussing each of them in a detailed manner. Now let us see the differences between the nervous system and the endocrine system. So as I told you, that both systems are coordinating with each other to carry out the different functions. Okay, but they have got a bit of difference and limitations, and they both will be what we can say they both will be complementing their functions. So suppose the functions which are not, there's some limitation which are basically present in nervous tissue, nervous system, will be overcome by the endocrine system and vice versa. Okay, so let us see the differences. The nervous tissue, the nervous system information, in the case of nervous system, the information passes as electrical impulses. The information passes as an electric impulses along the axon and chemical across the synapses. So in the case of nervous system, we had seen that the impulses will be transmitted from the axon through the axon in the form of electrical impulse, while at the synaptic junctions, at the synapses where the two neurons basically meet each other, adjacent neurons will be meeting each other, okay, contacting with each other. Over there, the transmission will be taking place with the help of chemicals. While in the case of endocrine system, the information as a chemical substance through the bloodstream. So here, all the information will be carried with the help of a chemical substance called as hormones. So hormones are also considered as chemical messengers, and this will be carried through the bloodstream only. This hormones will be carried through the bloodstream only. Next is the rapid transmission. In the case of nervous tissue, the service, or we can say the transmission, is basically so high at a very fast speed. So it's very rapid transmission, okay, and rapid effect as well. While in the case of endocrine system, the speed is slow, or we can say slow transmission will occur. Slow transmission of the message will occur. Okay, so nervous tissue, nervous system, rapid transmission will occur, and the endocrine system, slow transmission will occur. In the case of nervous tissue, the response which is generated is short-lived. The response which is generated is short-lived for a very short duration of time. So the nervous tissue, the response which is generated will be for a very short period of time, and it is short-lived. While in the case of endocrine system, the response which is generated will be long-lasting for a long period of time. So in the case of endocrine system, the response which is generated against the hormones will be long lasting and will be for a very long time. And the nervous system response is very exact and accurate. The nervous system is very highly specific, and it will be very exact and accurate for a short period of time. In the case of endocrine, the response usually is widespread. It will be widespread. It may be sometime at the different all the parts of the body as well. Okay, so in the endocrine system, response is usually widespread, while the case of nervous system, the response is very exact and accurate. So suppose if you are pricked at your fingertip, okay, so you will move that index finger. Suppose you are pricked at the index finger, so you will be moving out that finger only, not all the body part, okay, not other parts, okay. But in the case of, that's a very accurate and very fast and very exact in nature responses, right? But in the case of endocrine, suppose the growth hormone is being secreted, this growth hormone will be acting on mostly all the part of the body, okay, so that the growth will be taking place. So here it will be widely spread normally, okay. That's the difference between the nervous tissue and endocrine system, but both has to be work in a coordinated manner. And they both, nervous system and endocrine system, will be together carrying out the most of the functions of the organ or human system, okay. So let us start with the classification of the hormones. Now the hormones can be classified on different bases. They can be classified on the different bases, but here we will be mainly discussing about two main bases. So hormones are divided into following groups on the basis of the chemical nature. So first of all, the hormones can be classified into different groups on the basis of the chemical nature. So chemically, of what type of compound they are made up of. So they are of mainly different types chemicals. On the basis of chemical nature, it can be first of all amino acid. So the hormone can be a modified amino acid on the basis of the chemical nature. Example of the modified amino acid is the thyroxine. Okay, thyroxine and tetraiodothyronine. It's also T4. It's also called as tetraiodothyronine, or we can say T3, that is triiodothyronine. So thyroxine, or we can say thyroid hormone, it's iodothyronine. It's basically a type of over here what happens, the thyrionine is basically a type of hormone which is formed by the iodination of the thyrionine. So amino acid will be getting modified by addition of iodine molecule, and hence it will be basically responsible for formation of this hormone. Okay, so thyroxine, that is tetraiodothyronine, okay, and the T3, that is triiodothyronine. So these are the two main forms of the thyroxine. These are the two main forms of thyroxine. Okay, and these thyroid hormones are basically secreted from the thyroid gland, responsible for various functions. Okay, so these are the amino acids. Make it note that amino acid hormones are example thyroxine. Okay, second, amines will be consisting the amino group. Okay, example epinephrine, norepinephrine, melatonin. These are the different amino group of amino acids. Okay, next is steroids. Steroids are the amino acids which are derived from the lipids, mainly the cholesterol. So these are the steroid hormones are the one which are derived from the lipids. Okay, and we can say lipid derived hormones. They are mainly responsible for instant action as well. Okay, example male sex hormones. Okay, testosterone, then the androgen, like female sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, etc. Right, and hormones of adrenal cortex like cortisol, cortisone, corticosterones. These are the different types of steroid hormones. Okay, next is the peptide hormones. Peptide hormones can be of again mainly peptide. It means they will be consisting of a chain of amino acids. They will be consisting a chain of amino acids. It will be not consisting a very high number of amino acids. Okay, it will be having around 8 to 10 number of amino acids present in a chain. That's called as peptide. It can be short chain like the octapeptide. It will be consisting of 8 amino acids like oxytocin, and it can be a longer chain, that is a MSH, melanocyte stimulating hormone, ACTCH, adrenocortical stimulate hormone, right? So these are the adrenocorticoid hormones. Okay, these are the different types of hormones which can be basically of long chain, or it can be short chain. Then the proteinaceous hormone are the majority of the hormones are proteinaceous in nature. Consisting high number of amino acids. A long chain of amino acids will present. Example, growth hormone and thyroid stimulating hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, LH, that is luteinizing hormone, relaxin, PTH, STH. These are different type of hormones which are basically mainly formed by the proteins, and majority of the hormones are proteins. So not all the hormones are proteins, and not even all the proteins are hormones, but majority form of hormones are proteinaceous in nature. Okay, so it can be that hormones like LH and FSH hormones are glycoproteins in nature. They are modified protein. They are comparatively modified protein. Okay, so that was about the hormone classification on the basis of the nature of the compound. Okay, next is mechanism of hormone action. Now we know that this hormone will be basically acting on the target organ. The hormones will be acting on a target organ. These target organs are basically maybe present near to the source of hormone, or near to the gland, or towards the maybe present at the different parts of the body. Okay, so mainly the mechanism of action is basically consisting of the hormone receptor, and the target tissue. These are the main three parts. Okay, let us discuss again. So the mechanism of hormone action. So hormone produces the effects on the target cell. The hormone target cells are those cells or tissue on which the hormones will be acting. Suppose I'm having a hormone called as thyroid stimulating hormone. The hormone's name is thyroid stimulating hormone, which is secreted by hypothalamus, or which is secreted by pituitary. So pituitary is the source of TSH. What we can say? Pituitary is the source of TSH, and this TSH will be acting on thyroid gland. So we can say thyroid is a target organ or tissue of this TSH. So TSH has got two parts. That is it has got the source is pituitary, from where it is originated, from where it is secreted, or from where it is synthesized. Okay, while the other part is the target organ, the organ or the tissue or the cell on which it will be acted on. Okay, so the hormones produce the effects on the target tissue by binding to a specific protein called as hormone receptors, located in the target tissue only. So this is something important. So suppose a hormone is there which will be basically placed in the blood. Now this hormone will be not binding to any of those other cells. It will be binding very specifically on those cells only which will be having a specific type of protein receptors. This will be called as protein receptors or hormone receptors located in that tissue. Located in the tissue. So these are the this is the receptor. Okay, so this is the hormone. Let us see. This is the hormone, and this is a protein which is present on this membrane. This is a protein which is present on the membrane, which will be binding with this hormone, and this hormone protein, this protein which is responsible for binding this, or which is responsible for receiving this hormone, is called as receptor protein. Okay, so here the hormone receptor will be present on a specific cell, on the specific target organ only. It will not be present everywhere. So suppose a hormone is TSH. The TSH has got the target organ thyroid. So this TSH will be flowing in the blood. It means it will be coming in contact with different type of cells. But how specific it will be, that it will be only acting on thyroid gland, because no other cell or no other tissue will be having the receptors for this hormone. No other tissue or no other cells will be having the receptors for the TSH, and hence other part of the body, other tissues or other cells will not be able to bind with TSH, and hence TSH will be functioning only on its target organ, that is thyroid. So target organs are very specific in nature. Okay, so what will happen? So hormone receptors are located in the target tissues only. Now this receptors can be present at different places. This receptors can be present in different regions, okay, in the case of target tissues, and on the basis of that the mechanism will be of different types. Okay, so the receptors can be present on different these receptors are present on different. So these receptors for these hormones may be present at different sites on the target organs or the target cells, may be present on the different sites of the target organs or the target cells, and depending on that where this hormone receptors are present, the mechanism can be of different manner, the mechanism can be of different types. Okay, so it can be, this hormone receptor can be present on the membrane, then it is called as membrane bound receptors, or it can be present within the cell called as intracellular receptors. Mostly the nuclear receptors, okay, are also present. So this receptors for the hormone can present on the membrane, we can say membrane bound receptor, or we can say inside the cell, where it can be present in the cytoplasm also, and most of the time it will be present inside the nucleus, or we can say nuclear receptors. Okay, so it can be membrane bound, it can be intracellular, where the most of the time it will be nuclear receptor. Now it will be involving different stages. Okay, mechanism of the hormone action will be involving different stages. So here we are basically discussing two types of hormone, the protein hormone and the steroid hormone. In both the cases the mechanism will be different kind. Okay, so let us see. The first one is the protein hormone. Now the protein hormone is basically comparatively bigger in size. This protein hormone is comparatively bigger in size, and these proteins are non-permeable to this membrane. This protein will not be able to get inside this membrane. This protein is not permeable to the membrane. So what will happen? These hormones will be having the receptors present on the membrane, or we can say outside the cell. So these hormones, which are basically coming in contact with this cell through the blood. So this is coming in contact through the blood. So they will be binding to the receptor. And this binding will be forming a complex called as hormone receptor complex. This complex between the hormone and receptor is called as hormone receptor complex. Okay. So binding of hormone to its receptor leads to the formation of hormone receptor complex. Now each receptor is specific to one hormone only, and hence receptors are specific. So it again functions as a lock and key. Okay, so like every lock has a very specific key, similarly every receptor will be binding to a specific hormone only. So it is very specific in nature. So it will be not binding to any other part. Okay, any other cell. Okay, so each receptor is specific to one hormone only, and hence receptors are specific. Now hormone receptor complex formation leads to certain biochemical changes in the target tissue. When this complex is formed, this will lead to the this will lead to some specific type of changes, biochemical changes particularly occurring within this tissue or cell. So this hormone receptor complex formation leads to certain biochemical changes in the target tissue, and this target tissue metabolism which will be responsible change in the metabolism, and hence the physiological functions are regulated by hormones. So this target, the receptor and hormone binding receptor, the hormone and receptor complex will be responsible for changes in this physiological, or we can say biochemical changes will occur in the cell under the response of this hormone, due to which there will be occurring different type of changes, physiological changes, genetical changes also sometime. It means that gene will be activated or deactivated, and it may be lead to some sort of secretion or something like that. So depending on the type of hormone and depending on the type of cell, different type of possibilities may occur. Okay, so let us see. Now the hormone which is interacting with the membrane bound receptors. So here we are basically talking about the first of all the hormone which is binding to the membrane bound receptors. So hormones which interact with the membrane bound receptors, this is the receptor. This is the receptor which is bound to the membrane. Okay, hence it is called the membrane bound receptor, which is present outside the cell actually. Okay, so this hormones which interact with the membrane bound receptor normally do not enter the target cell, so they will not be entering within the target cell, but generate a secondary messenger. So once this complex is formed, this will be given, which will be forming another secondary messenger. This secondary messenger is basically over here cyclic AMP, or it may be calcium. So depending on the type of cell and the type of hormone, different type of secondary messenger is generated. What is primary messenger? This hormone is basically acting as a primary messenger. This hormone is acting as a primary messenger. This hormone is binding to the receptor. Keep it in mind, this hormone is not getting inside the cell. It is not getting inside cell. It is binding to receptor. When this binding receptor causes the formation of complex between hormone and receptor, what will happen? This complex will bring out some biochemical change, and it may lead to the formation of secondary messenger. It may lead to the formation or activation of secondary messenger. In such cases, it may be cyclic AMP, calcium. Okay, then it can be DAG, CGMP. There are different types of secondary messenger which are mainly found in different type of cells. Now this secondary messenger will be now further turn and regulate the cellular metabolism. This secondary messenger will undergo activation, deactivation of different enzymes which will be responsible for bringing out the change in the cell, Example, the ovarian growth, example, the human growth, formation of some enzyme, or digestion of some particular substances, right? So it may be of different types. This physiological functions, or the product or the result of this binding or of this hormone receptor can be of different types. Okay, so when the receptor is present on the membrane, or when the membrane bound receptor is present, what will happen? The hormone will bind to this receptor, forming a complex which will lead to the generation of the secondary messenger, and this secondary messenger will activate or inactivate different pathways inside the cell in such a manner that the end result will be formed. Okay, and that type of result and the type of pathway would be varying from cell to cell. Okay, so that was about the hormone which is binding to the receptors on the surface of the membrane. But sometimes the hormones may interact intracellularly, may get inside the cell. Okay, so there are some hormones which can get entered to the cell, like this is the estrogen, which is a lipid derivative steroid hormone. Now we know the steroid hormones are lipid derived. Now a cell membrane is also made up of lipids, so this both are of same type, and hence what happens, the steroid hormones are able to get inside the cell. The steroid hormones, or we can say lipid derived hormones, are permeable in the cell. Write it down. The lipid hormones or lipid derived hormones or steroid hormones are able to penetrate within the cell. Okay, now in such cases where the hormones which interact with the intracellular receptors, okay, so over here what will happen, these hormones will be having the receptors present inside the cell rather than on membrane. Okay, and they will be example steroid hormones, example estrogen and progesterone, etc., right, and adrenal aldosterone and all that. Now they will be mostly regulating the gene expression or chromosome function by the interaction of hormone receptor complex with the genome. So they will be acting directly on the gene. Here you can see this is the genome of the organism. So they will be having some proteins associated with them. So this will be having the receptor present in the cell or maybe the nucleus. So they will be forming a receptor hormone complex which may activate or which may deactivate a specific part of gene, which this hormone receptor complex may be responsible for activating or deactivating a specific part of gene, due to which the protein which is being synthesized may be terminated or may be initiated and the physiological function may be observed. Okay, so the hormones which interact intracellular receptors, example steroid hormones, iodothyronine, etc., mostly regulate the gene expression or a chromosome function by interaction of hormone receptor complex with genome. So this hormone receptor complex will be interacting with genome, and then they will be responsible for producing the results. Okay, and the cumulative biochemical action result in the physiological and the developmental effect. That was about the mechanism of action of hormone in the case where the receptors are present inside the cell. Now let us see second. This was on the hormones were distinguished on the basis of the nature, whether they are of lipid derivative, whether they are of amino acid derivative, or whether they are basically of protein derivative. Okay, so keep in mind protein derivatives of proteins, hormones mainly will be having membrane bound receptors, while the hormones, steroid hormones, will be having the intracellular or intranuclear receptor, and hormones like thyronine or thyroxine, okay, will be also having the intracellular receptors. So depending on the type of hormone, receptors may be present out on the membrane inside the cell or inside the cytoplasm or inside the nucleus as well. Next is the on the basis of activity of hormones. On the basis of activity of hormones, the hormones can be of again two types. The hormones which can act very fast, and the second one is the hormone which may have lag periods. Okay, the first one, the hormones which can act fast, these are the large molecules which bind to the plasma membrane of receptor and form a hormone receptor complex, as we have seen already that like insulin, all that. What happens, these hormones will be binding to the these hormones are very large molecules and which will be binding to the plasma membrane, okay, of the receptor, and over there the hormone receptor complex will be formed. This complex activates the adenine cyclase enzyme, that is a secondary messenger. It's an enzyme which will be responsible for converting this ATP into cyclic AMP. So you can see this enzyme complex, this hormone and the receptor forms a complex which will be giving a response 1. This response 1 is basically considered as an activating this enzyme. This activating enzyme is the adenine cyclase enzyme. This, in the presence of this adenine cyclase enzyme, what will happen? This ATP will be getting converted to CAMP. This ATP will be getting converted into CMP, or the CMP will be functioning as a secondary manager. And this CMP goes into cytoplasm and activates enzymes according to hormones. So I told you that it will be depending on the type of hormones and type of cell, it will be further activating a whole sets of enzyme, or it may sometimes inactivate also sets of enzyme to carry out of some particular function. Okay, that is about the hormones which may act very fast. At the same time, there might be some hormones which may be act so slowly, or we can say they will be having the lag period hormone. These are the small size molecules. Mostly they will be amino acid in nature or maybe the steroid in nature. These are small size molecule which enter directly into cytoplasm. Okay, we have seen they will be directly entering into cytoplasm and binds to the protein and form protein hormone complex. So they will be having the receptors present in the cytoplasm, and hence they will be forming this receptor bind hormone complex in the cytoplasm, which is also called as hormone protein complex also. This complex stimulates the genes. Now this complex will be directly acting on the gene. This gene will be responsible for formation of RNA, and this RNA will be now responsible for formation of protein synthesis. This protein which will be synthesized will undergo particular manipulation, modification, and then it will be responsible for releasing that particular substance. So the lag period hormone will be taking a lot of time because it is genetically controlled. So here the substance which is basically end product, that is the protein, will be synthesized in a step-by-step manner. Okay, that starts from the activation of gene and then production of mRNA, then production of the enzymes, and then the production of enzymes or production of proteins, and these proteins will be then becoming functional, and this functional protein has to be released out. So there are a lot of checks and a lot of limitations at each and every step. So on the basis of activity, the hormones can act very fast, like the one which can get directly on the membrane receptor, and then it may carry out the secondary messenger, and then it will be responsible for bringing out the change in the cell. While the second one is the lag period hormone, where The small size molecule enters into the cell, having the receptors in the cytoplasm or nucleus, which will be forming a complex, and this complex will be acting on a genes, which will be stimulating the genes in such a way that new mRNA and new proteins are formed. Okay, and according to the given hormone. So this was about the on the basis of activity. Previously we had we have classified them on the basis of the nature, while now we have classified them on the basis of the activity. Now let us see, many times the students get confused between the hormones and enzymes. So there is a lot of difference between them. Let us discuss each of them in a very brief manner. So hormones, the derivatives of either amino acids. They can be either amino acids, peptides, proteins, or steroids. Okay. So the hormones can be derivatives of different types. It can be amino acids, it can be peptides, proteins, or steroids. Okay. While the enzymes, they are usually complex proteins. So the enzymes are comparatively complex protein, not simple as the hormones. The hormones, the molecular weight of hormone is low and cannot diffuse to the biomembrane. So the hormones, the molecular weight of hormones and the structure of the hormone is will be simple, which cannot diffuse through the biomembrane. The molecular weight of enzyme is very high and can diffuse through the biomembrane, depending on the type of enzyme and the depending on type of membrane. Now, the actions which are controlled by hormones are irreversible. The actions which are controlled by hormones are irreversible. Once the things are done, then done. Okay. So these are the one which is responsible for actions are controlled by hormones, and it is irreversible. While enzyme actions are reversible in different manner. Enzyme actions are reversible in different manner. The hormones are used in the action, and lose their identity. So once this hormone get used up in the reaction, it will lose its identity. It will be used up in that reaction. But in the case of enzyme, the enzyme control the action, but themselves do not change. So enzyme will be controlling the action, but it will itself not get changed and hence maintain its identity. Okay, so we can say it neither take part in the reaction, but it increases or decreases the rate of reaction. Okay, and maintaining the identity of the product and the reactant. Okay. Hormones, their place of secretion and action are different. So it may happen that the pituitary gland is secreting this LH or luteinizing hormone, but this luteinizing hormone is present in pelvic region. Okay, while the hormone is produced at the pituitary gland. So we can say the place of secretion is different and the place of action is different. Okay, so the place of action and place of secretion can be different in the case of hormones, while the place of secretion and the place of action can be of same or different in the case of enzymes. So depending on requirement, it can be same or different. Now the hormones may either accelerate metabolic reaction or may be retard as inhibit the reaction. So hormones may be responsible for accelerating this metabolic reaction, or it can retard the inhibit the reactions. And now the enzymes will be always accelerate the reactions. It will always accelerate the reaction most of the time. The hormones are quite effective in low concentration. The hypersecretion may create physiological disorders. So hormones are mostly secreted in very low amount. So it should not be present in hyper amount. It should not be hyper secreted, or it should not be secreted in a lower amount as well. So it should not be hyper secretion. It should not be hyper secretion. Okay. And this in the case of enzymes, these are also effective in low concentration, similar to the hormones. It also requires very low concentration, but the increase in enzyme activity further accelerates the reaction. So when with the increase in enzyme activity, will be further accelerating the reactions. And now the hormones can have the rapids, maybe rapid or slow. The actions may be rapid or slow in the case of hormones, while in the case of enzymes, the action is always rapid. In the case of enzymes, the action is always rapid. That's the difference between the hormones and the enzyme particularly. Okay. Now we will be discussing each of these hormones one by one, so that we can get a brief idea about all these hormones and all these glands. Okay. Let us start with the first gland. Let us start with the first gland, that is the hypothalamus. Okay, the first gland is the hypothalamus. Okay. Now hypothalamus is the basal part of the diencephalon. It's the basal part of the diencephalon, and this diencephalon is a part of the forebrain. Diencephalon is one of the part of the forebrain. Okay. So hypothalamus is the basal part of this diencephalon, which is a part of again a forebrain. Okay. Now this hypothalamus regulates wide spectrum of body functions. Okay, hypothalamus, because it will be regulating a lot of body functions directly or indirectly. These are the structures, the hormones or the glands of the hypothalamus are responsible for regulating the wide spectrum of body functions, and hence we can call them as an master of master gland. So pituitary gland is called as master gland, but hypothalamus is even the master of pituitary as well. So we can say hypothalamus is a master of master gland. Okay. Now this hypothalamus will be containing several groups of neurosensory cells. This will be containing several groups of neurosecretory cells called nuclei, which produces hormones. So they will be having it. The hypothalamus contains several groups of neurosecretory cells. Okay, this hypothalamus will be containing several groups of neurosecretory cells called as nuclei, which produces hormones, which will producing the hormones. Now it secretes around 12 hormones. It secretes around 12 neurohormones. The hypothalamus will be secreting around 12 neurohormones, teacher releasing, which will be consisting releasing factor. So it secretes around 12 neurohormones, which will consisting release factors. Release factors will be stimulating the secretion of pituitary hormones such as GFR, VRF, etc. Okay. And inhibiting hormone is the inhibiting secretion of pituitary hormones, example GHF. So where the person is basically wants to this inhibit, so it will be releasing inhibiting hormones or releasing factor. Releasing factor should be inducing or should be stimulating the secretion of the hormones. Okay, and the inhibitory hormones will be inhibiting the secretion or the priority of the hormones. Okay. Next is the GnRH, that is gonadotropin releasing hormone. These are the main hormones that secreted from this. Okay, hypothalamus. GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone. It is responsible for, it stimulates the pituitary. It is stimulated by the pituitary gland. Okay, and synthesis and release and the gonadotropin. So this will be synthesized over the pituitary gland, hypothalamus gland, and then it will be pituitary, and then it will release in the gonadotropin, and the release of gonadotropin will occur. So gonadotropin releasing hormone, GRH, is responsible for stimulating the pituitary. It is also responsible for synthesizing and release of gonadotropin. Okay. Next is growth hormone or inhibitory factor, GHIP. It is also called somatostatin. So the cells of islets and Langerhans also secrete this inhibitory factor. The cells of islets and Langerhans also secrete this inhibitory factor, and it will also secrete oxytocin and ADH. It also secretes oxytocin and ADH. Okay, so the growth hormone inhibiting factor, somatostatin, and this will be secreted by the islets of Langerhans, and also secretes the inhibitory factor. It also secretes the oxytocin and ADH. Okay, that was about the hypothalamus. Now, hypophyseal portal system. All the hormones and the hypothalamus originating in the hypothalamic nerves passes through the axon and released from the nerve endings. So all the hormones which are basically present in the hypothalamus will be originating in the hypothalamic region and pass through the axons and released from the ending cells and will be released from the nerve ending. These hormones reach the pituitary gland through a portal system called as hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal. So those hormones reach the pituitary gland through a portal system called as hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system, which is present between the hypothalamus and the adenohypophysis. The releasing factor and the inhibitory factor comes into the adenohypophysis through this portal system, which regulates the function of anterior pituitary. Next is that, so apart from hypothalamus, we will see the pituitary gland. So let us see the hypothalamus. So hypothalamus is a basal part of the encephalon, and mainly called as master of master gland because it will be controlling the pituitary gland as well. It contains the several neurosecretory cells called as nuclei, which produces hormones. This nuclei will be responsible for producing around 12 hormones. This will be responsible for producing around 12 hormones, which are of different types. Okay, and it is also responsible for stimulating the pituitary, which is also responsible for secreting the GnRH, that is gonadotropin releasing hormone, due to which the pituitary will get stimulated, and also the synthesis and release of gonadotropin will occur. And the gonadotropin will be having just opposite action. Okay, so it will be responsible for increasing the synthesis of the gonadotropin secretions. Okay, next is growth hormone inhibitory factor, that is GHF. The somatostatin it is secreted by the delta cells of the pancreas. Okay, now the islets of Langerhans also decreases. This islets of Langerhans also secreted this inhibitory factor. It also secretes the oxytocin. Okay, so mainly the GnRH, GHF, GHIF. Okay, then the RPF, ACT, HRF. There are a lot of different factors as well. Okay, now hypophyseal portal system. All the hormones of hypothalamus originating in the hypothalamic neurons pass through the axon and released from the nerve endings. This is what we have seen. These hormones reach the pituitary gland through a portal system called the hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system, which is present between the hypothalamus and the adenohypophysis. The releasing factor and inhibiting factor comes into adenohypophysis through this portal system, which regulates the function of the anterior pituitary. Okay, next is the pituitary gland. It is one of the smallest endocrine gland. Note it down. It is smallest endocrine gland. It is the smallest endocrine gland. Okay. And the pituitary term was given the bacillus, and it is ectodermal in origin. And this is also called as master gland. Okay. Now the chief executive of endocrine system. The chief executive of endocrine system is basically the pituitary gland is situated at the floor of the encephalon. The pituitary gland is situated at the floor of the encephalon. Okay, in sella turcica, and it's attached to the hypothalamus by a stalk. This pituitary gland will be attached to the hypothalamus by a stalk. It is homologous to Heerdmann's subneural gland that apomixes Muller organ. So here we can see when the hormone is there. So when this pituitary gland is there, it will be secreting hormone, which will be ectodermal in origin, and this is also called as master gland, or we can say leader of exocrine. So the chief executive of endocrine system will be basically the pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is the chief endocrine system. Chief executive of the endocrine system. Now the pituitary gland is situated at the floor of the encephalon in sella turcica, and it is situated to the hypothalamus by a stalk. Okay, now let us see over here. This is the base of hypothalamus, and this is the pituitary gland. What happened? This hypothalamic neurons are present, which will be basically connected to the gland over here in the pituitary, a posterior gland of the pituitary. Okay, and this is the adenohypophysis, this is hypophysis. So this will be forming a band which is responsible for connecting this brain to this brain. Okay, to the brain to this particular part. Okay, it is basically carried out with the help of hypothalamic neurons, which are called as hypophageal neurons. Okay, so here you can see the hypothalamus. It's about eye. Okay, so post lobe, infundibulum, tuberculum. Okay, now structurally the pituitary gland is divided into two parts. The pituitary gland is divided into two parts, that is anterior lobe, that is immediate lobe. This is divided into three parts, that is pars distalis, pars intermedia, and pars tubularis. So pituitary gland is basically divided into two parts, adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis, depending on the parts. Okay, now adenohypophysis is the one which is anterior lobe, which is present in the anterior lobe and intermediate lobe. Okay, this is divided into three parts, that is pars distalis, pars intermedia, and pars tubularis. Neurohypophysis, that is posterior lobe, consists of three parts, that is pars nervosa, infundibulum or stalk pituitary. Okay, the neurohypophysis consists of three parts: pars nervosa, infundibulum or stalk of the pituitary gland, and median eminence of the. So here we can see this is originated at the hypothalamus, but would be opening into the pituitary, and this is called as basically hypophyseal system. Okay, so neurohypophysis will be consist of three steps, that is pars nervosa, infundibulum or stalk, and median eminence, so we can say tuber cinerarium. That was about this hypophysis. Okay, next is let us discuss the structure of adenohypophysis and what all things it is producing. So the adenohypophysis will be responsible. It is originating from the Rathke pouch of the stomidium. It is a part of this hypothalamus. Okay, so it will be originated from the Rathke pouch of the stomidium, and it is mainly responsible for secreting 6 hormones. It is responsible for secretion of mainly 6 hormones, that is growth hormone, responsible for the growth of the body. Okay, and it will be having this target cell receptors will present on mostly all the body parts. Next is TSH, that is thyroid stimulating hormone, FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, LH, luteinizing hormone, and prolactin, and then the ACTH, that is adrenal-corticoid tropic hormone, adrenal-corticoid tropical hormone. So adenohypophysis is mainly releasing 6 hormones, which is growth hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, and luteinizing hormone, prolactin, and adrenal-corticoid tropic hormone. The growth hormone plus prolactin secreted by acidophils or cell. The growth hormone plus the prolactin, which is secreted by the acidophils or cells. TSH, FSH, LH, ACTH secreted by the basophils or cells, and chromophils are the precursors of the end cells. Okay, we'll see that the hormones of adrenophysis, that is anterior lobe of pituitary. So this is the anterior part, and this is the posterior part. This part is called as adenohypophysis. This is called as posterior hypophysis. Okay, so the hormones of adenohypophysis is basically growth hormone, that is, or somatotropic hormone is also called as somatotropic hormone. Somato means the body, tropic means to induce. Okay, so growth hormone or somatotropic hormone, proteinaceous hormone. So these hormones are basically proteinaceous hormone, and which has got functions which will respond for stimulating the cell division. It is responsible for stimulation of cell division, acts on the epilepsy plate of bones so that bone increases in length. So this main function is to increase the growth. It can be done by increasing the cell number, by increasing the cell division. Now this hormone will be acting on the epiphyseal plate of the bone. Epiphyseal plate is basically that plate which is limiting the growth of the bone, So it will be acting on the epiphyseal plate of bone. So bone increases in length, so height also increases. So it will be prevented over here. Now it is also stimulate the gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis will be responsible for formation of glucose from other part. So it stimulates the gluconeogenesis, and it also helps in the glycogenesis, stimulates the lipolysis and protein synthesis. In this way, it is stimulated physical outgrowth. So this growth hormone will be stimulating the gluconeogenesis, and it also helps in the glycogenesis. That is formation of glycogen, and even stimulate of the lipolysis, oxidation of fats, and the protein synthesis will be regulated by this hormone. Okay, and in this way it stimulates the physical growth. Now if excess of growth hormone is taking place, so if suppose excess of growth hormone is taking place, what will happen? The gigantism in childhood will be observed. So below 18 years, oversecretion of growth hormone stimulates the abnormal growth of the body. It will be stimulating the abnormal growth of the body. Next, acromegaly. In adult, gorilla-like organs are present. In adult, the gorilla-like organs are present, where the enlargement of hand and feet, and nose and lower jaws are lightened. Okay, that is acromegaly. In this case, the eye will be basically opened out. Okay, and it will be basically looking like a gorilla, and this will be responsible for enlargement of hand and the feet, and the nose and the lower jaw are also increased. Okay, acromegaly. Now that was about the excess growth hormone, but now let us see effect of deficiency. Pituitary dysfunction. So low secretion of the GH released in the stunted growth in childhood. In this patients, the IQ will be normal, but the growth will be similar to childhood. They are called as midgets or circus jokers. They are sterile mostly. Next is Simmons disease, generally found in the adult female. Simmons disease are mainly found in the adult female. So, and at the time of delivery, the excessive bleeding occurs due to which the blood supply of adenohypophysis decreases. Okay, these are the deficiency syndromes. Okay, so let us see how control of ACTH secretion. So hypothalamus is releasing this ICTH, ICRH. The ICRH is basically releasing to the renal cortex. Okay, basically to this testis or the ovaries, or depending on the type of target organ. So it may release the hormone directly, like the same. It is pseudo stratified, or we can say pseudo ciliar, and it can be have the cilia present on them, which is responsible for identifying the stress, and also responsible for identifying the chemicals which are basically taken up. Okay, and this will be responsible for circadian cycle as well, and then it will be analyzed, and then lecture will be out. That was about the lectures particularly. Okay, so we are done with the hypothalamus. Okay, and next in the next lecture we'll be starting with the thyroid hormone. So that's all for the day. Thank you and have a nice day.